What a lovely day.
Hello, Clifford.
What a brand new year. Hello, sir. Nice to see you in the new decade, Mr.
A new
Justin.
decade. I feel like I've been a Tolkien fan for 100 years.
I cannot believe it has been. Are we now in our 8th year doing this live stream? We're now in year number 8.
8 years?
We're in our 8th year. We begin.
And we hang out less and less socially because I can't stand you.
How can
and
that
your
be?
Opinions. But I appreciate
what?
everybody
And
in
my
the chat
opinions?
rooms.
What's that about?
I see Leia, who hasn't been here in a while. Arn Niznikov, I see you. Ellen Moncrusos.
Hello,
the
Ellen.
Wonderful Ellen.
Hello, all of our
Hello.
friends in the live chat. Many platforms of live chatters come together.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us. Look at you guys. This is Torn Tuesday. You have come to the right place. That's Justin. I'm Cliff.
That's Cliff.
Yeah.
And the Torn Tuesday has been your weekly dose of all things Hobbit and Lord of the Rings for
Weekly
over
dose.
8 years.
We're hitting our stride now.
We've gone through so many platforms, boom and bust, and
we have news of casting, new actor,
breaking
cast.
news.
We have breaking news.
Breaking news.
We have a delightful mention of all the good things that happened over this past weekend.
Yes. So let's
with
get
the
breaking
with the Golden Globes, all the things that
Oh
happened
my God,
with the Golden
there's
Globes.
so much
to
talk
cover.
about.
But for fantasy fans, especially J.R.R. Tolkien fans, welcome to the OneRing.net.
Hello,
may I welcome
501st
you all.
Legion.
I welcome you.
501st Legion is watching. Happy New Year from Scotland,
Hello.
guys.
Hey.
And everyone in the chat.
That's
Princess
good to see you.
Toy Nerd, good to see you. Happy New Decade. I haven't been saying year. I've been saying Happy New Decade to you all. This is we're just like in a whole. I am on a whole nother plane of existence in 2020.
I'll say.
And the plane of existence. Let's go to the breaking news. We've got another Stark has joined Lord of the Rings.
Yes, another
on Amazon.
The connections from Game of Thrones
Amazon
continue.
continues to hire from Game of Thrones as young Ned Stark, played by Robert Arameo.
That's young Ned
has
Stark.
joined Amazon's Lord of the Rings series in a major feature role.
He looks so different without that Stark beard.
Do you
he
think
looks so different
this
without
could
that
be
Stark beard?
A Will Poulter's replacement? Do you think this is young Elrond?
They said he's playing Baldur.
Baldur?
Or the other character. They said that this person is not Elrond. They said it's attributed to one of those 4 names that were leaked with the script material.
Baldur.
The audition script material that was leaked upon us all. Remember? We did a couple of shows about it.
So what was
In fact, we reenacted that bloody dialogue.
What was Elrond's twin brother's name?
Elros.
Elros.
Well, no, this is.
What do you guys think?
Take a look at him again. Let's put this actor up.
Let's put this actor
Look
up.
at him. He sure could be Elrond, half elven, but they're still trying.
Is that the first king of Numenor?
No, he was.
Is that Aragorn's lineage?
You know, you're talking about Elros?
Elros.
No, I'm saying Elrond, half elven, who discovered Rivendell and established Imladris as the elves' name Rivendell.
Yes.
I'm talking about Elrond.
Okay.
But Andrew Laubacher here in the chat has said Baldur might yet turn out to be as in a code word for that character.
Ellen Moncrusos has nailed it. Amazon has got their baby Yoda because this is baby Ned. This is baby Ned Stark.
Oh God, it's
he
baby
played
Ned.
young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. Amazon was like, baby Yoda's the biggest thing. What's another baby we can do in Lord of the Rings? And they said, let's get baby Ned Stark. Here
Baby Ned Stark?
Yeah,
No, wait. What?
He joins Uncle Benjen in the show. And of course, the writer behind the best of the Stark storylines, Brian Cogman, who said there isn't enough rape in Game of Thrones. Let's add some more for Sansa.
Hey, you know what? You know that controversial view has been supported by me individually and also Justin.
But new decade, we're going to be positive on the show. Look, it's a new year.
I'm
decade,
no stranger to controversy, though.
New decade, new me, new us. We're not going to be negative.
No, I'm not going to be negative. However, we will continue to cast a cold, clear eye on the proceedings. That's what we do, okay? No need to be negative about it, but we will be realistic. If we're telling you that we're just hearing rumors and hearsay, we'll tell you that's what it is. If it's confirmed, real news, hard news.
Hard news.
The stuff that makes your kidney stones difficult to pass.
Facts.
Like this guy. Robert Aramayo cast as the replacement.
Young Ned Stark is now in
Cast
Lord of the Rings.
as the replacement for Will Poulter of Maze Runner fame, of Black Mirror Bandersnatch
and Toy Story
fame.
1. Oh wait, no, he looks exactly like
He looks like he was
the
not.
kid in Toy Story.
He was not Toy Story 1. Stop that, dude. And when he started as a kid, he was actually in the adaptation of C.S. Lewis,
Narnia.
The Chronicles of Narnia,
I was
Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
I was most excited for Will Poulter out of everybody they announced besides John Howe and Brian Sibley. I was most excited for Will Poulter, and I'm very depressed that he exited the show. But maybe Robert Aramayo is not replacing Will Poulter. Maybe Amazon has come to their senses, realized that Elrond always looked like Elrond, and they've cast Hugo Weaving in the part of Elrond to play Elrond because elves are everlasting, I think.
They're eternal. They're
eternal.
Immortal.
So, but it would be weird for old Elrond, Hugo Weaving, to play against young Galadriel, whom they just cast. I'm telling you, we're going to get a Riverdale-type show out of this. You thought I was joking 2 years ago when I said, if they want this to succeed, it's got to look like a CW show crossed with Game of Thrones.
No. I'm not going to be taking this Riverdale Lord of the Rings approach. No.
Rivendell.
Not on my watch.
Rivendell.
Not on my watch.
A-L-E.
No, he wants to do the teen heartthrob, stab 'em and slab 'em mystery in Riverdale High School. What? No.
Rivendell.
No, we do not want a Riverdale crossing with the high romantic fantasy world of J.R.R. Tolkien. I think these might be rather incongruous types of storytelling. Rather. And why would you see it as a benefit to blend or hybridize that type of storytelling for Tolkien? Why?
I would prefer a Riverdale or CW type show as opposed to Game of Thrones or Witcher.
Okay. Wow. Really?
Did you guys like The Witcher?
Okay.
That is currently the reigning high fantasy show. The Witcher on Netflix.
I'm telling you, The Witcher was something that I started complaining about quite publicly on Facebook when I was at episode 3, and we had no plot, no antagonist identified, and I was looking at, some various level of cheesiness and goofiness on display. By the time I'd finished, and I want you all to know that I'm not the naysayer that you think, I'm not the negative Nancy that he thinks I am. I saw The Witcher all the way through the end of season 1, and although it does have some problems, it also has a lot of promise by offering certain charms. It has its charms, I'll give it that. But
you know what The Witcher and Game of Thrones have in common? A lot of cursing. Does Lord of the Rings have to be a clean show?
One of the best things about The Witcher is that the sex and the sexuality that is on display in The Witcher is not dirty or rapey or weird or uncomfortable. It's very playful and funny. 99% of the time, anything that is sexually related on The Witcher is not weird, dark, rapey, poor Sansa, what happened, why did they write that, they should not have written that. But no, it's not like that. You watch the sexuality in The Witcher, and it's played for laughs and a little bit of a wink-wink sensuality. And would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, then that's
there
fine.
You go.
See? There you go.
That's
the
final word on The Witcher.
But also, The Witcher has complexity in some of its characters that are naturally appealing. Yennefer is a more appealing character than the lead, The Witcher himself, to say that much. But if the Lord of the Rings series succeeds in bringing us interesting characters that have these internal dilemmas, like Yennefer, and are trying to struggle with themselves and with the outer world and its externalities in a period of developing war, which might be the setting of the stage in Middle-earth. It usually is. Usually there's a preface of war happening in a Middle-earth story. That's usually what's happening, except in The Hobbit. Well, actually, no. In The Hobbit, everything in The Hobbit leads up to a war, the Battle of the Five Armies. So I stand on that point.
But the end of Numenor is very dark.
The story might begin at the establishment of Numenor, which is thousands of years before its end. We don't know where Amazon is going to put us in the narrative timeline. But if Amazon writers want to do something that The Witcher did correctly, it would be give us some lightness to the humor, not dark, rapey stuff, and give us some characters with depth and complexity that at least have somewhere to go in season 2 that make us want to keep going.
Epic Sun Tiger on YouTube says, I don't think we should be comparing these shows to the new Lord of the Rings show. I will counterpoint that, saying TV shows are made by people, and the same people that made Game of Thrones is doing Lord of the Rings. The same people that wrote Game of Thrones are writing Lord of the Rings. The same people that acted in Game of Thrones are acting in Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
In addition to other quality writers like those from Hannibal, which I'm so happy that they did.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
They've assembled an awesome writer's room on Lord of the Rings, but the guy in charge is the guy who wrote basically the entire Stark storyline for television. So we have to, television does not happen in a vacuum. People make that. And so Rivendell, who would direct Taika Waititi? He the perfect Tolkien director. No, actually, he would be a. So, did you see the other tweet that we did last week, Cliff, about Lord of the Rings? Amazon's license for Lord of the Rings includes multiple spin-off series. It's not just like one. Amazon is in the Lord of the Rings business. Period. End of story. They have all the rights to everything. Everything filmed.
Indeed, they do.
And they have options for multiple TV series. So they could go into production with multiple shows right now, just like Disney has got multiple Star Wars shows in development right now. They just did the Mandalorian live action show. They've got a new season of Rebels, a cartoon show. They've got other stuff going on with other directors. So Disney's like in the Star Wars business. Amazon is in the Lord of the Rings business. So to posit, I said,
I hear where he's going with this. I know where he's going with this already, but please go ahead, sir.
Go
ahead.
If the rights are already there, Amazon has the opportunity to put something to screen that we've never actually seen, and that is a limited edition television series. Maybe it's only 10 episodes of The Scouring of the Shire.
What? Really?
So what if Amazon?
Oh, where are you going with this?
What if Amazon
That's an amazing
did
idea.
a Scouring of the Shire TV series, limited edition, one season, kind of like Watchmen, 9 episodes. That's it. And
you mean to visit a major part of it that's never been put on film before?
Never been put on film. It's a total blank slate. The book's story. The story allows us to, Saruman goes into incognito. No one knows it's Saruman.
I did not expect this from him. You actually surprised me with this idea.
So, but the rights allow it. That we've never seen it on screen.
Yeah.
The creative is appropriate. Imagine a couple hobbits. I'm thinking like Sleepy Hollow. Remember the Fox TV show with Sleepy Hollow with Tom? We're just going to call him Tom. Imagine a show like Sleepy Hollow where a couple hobbits stumble on some supernatural things happening around the Shire, and they investigate every week for 10 weeks. And then it's discovered that it is Saruman and everybody scouring the Shire. I think that would be just a wonderful treat of a show, and they could film it right now at the same time as the Second Age show.
Are you selling your $1 million Hey, Connor, are you selling your $1 million idea for free to Amazon's writers right now?
I'm saying that
doing
Amazon,
that?
You're in the Lord of the Rings business. You're in the total Middle-earth business. You have the rights to do multiple shows. You've got sign-off from all the parties. You can spin off Peter Jackson's show if you want. You can make something totally new. Saruman can be incognito. I'm saying I think it would be a fun little show to make the Scouring of the Shire.
Let's put that side by side with the Billy and Dom starring Merry and Pippin Mysteries.
Merry and Pippin Save the Shire?
Merry and Pippin Mysteries. That's going to be like the Nancy Drew Mysteries,
yes.
But it'll be Merry and Pippin instead wandering around the Shire, and oh, you're so funny. You know, let's talk about this guy, Robert Aramayo. Do you think, let's go back to this headline, please. Where is it? It's in Deadline. The name of the role. Scroll down, and you'll see the name of the role attributed to him.
Game of Thrones alum Robert Aramayo has been tapped for the lead, not a lead.
Exactly.
The lead in Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series. He replaces Will Poulter. And for the young hero role, referred to as Beldor.
Indeed.
So this guy is replacing Will Poulter for the lead in Amazon's $1 billion five-season epic.
Beldor with an E?
Beldor.
Yeah, guys.
Beldor.
Not to be confused with Baldur's Gate from Dungeons & Dragons.
No.
Not to be confused with Baldur, who is a real character already well known and mentioned in the chapter related to the Paths of the Dead. Remember? When Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn are traveling through the Paths of the Dead?
That's right.
They find, it's not seen in the movie, it's not in the Peter Jackson version of the film, but they find the dead body of an unfortunate person who went into the mountains first, seeking the same pathway, but without having the sword of Elendil, without having,
that's right,
you know, the reforged sword Anduril, Flame of the West, and without being the rightful king of Gondor.
My theory is that Robert Aramayo, who's replacing Will Poulter, means that the show for Amazon is going to center on Elrond and Galadriel's relationship as young 20-somethings navigating their way through the Second Age and being tricked by this dashing guy named Anatar, Little Annie for short. I think the show is about Elrond and Galadriel befriending a guy named Anatar, and we know where that leads. So that would be a fun show. Cliff.
Indeed, it would be a fun show.
Switching gears.
Yes.
Everyone during the holidays has a tradition of watching Lord of the Rings.
We do indeed.
Did you watch Lord of the Rings during the holiday break?
We actually apologize for not doing our usual holiday thing of a live reading of The Hobbit on Christmas morning. It would, you know, we've done that in the past. It's probably still floating around there somewhere, isn't it?
That's
on
right.
our YouTube archive. But, you know, that's a wonderful thing, too, to read it live on a live stream in front of you folks. But in terms of watching it, I have to tell all my family, and I still have to tell my family members this, they know better, don't bother watching the Netflix versions. It's nice and convenient that it's there on Netflix, but wait a minute, let me take this extended version on my Blu-ray, let me pop it in the tray and put it in, and let's watch it from there, okay?
So what Cliff, what if you're traveling?
Sorry.
You're not hosting Christmas. You're at your aunt's house, who's decided to host this year.
Oh gosh, okay, and then it's like family protocol.
And she has this brown case copy
yes.
of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
The original DVD. Wow.
More than that, what does that say at the top?
It says full screen. You're going to make me die here, Justin.
This is the best version you could possibly watch. The full screen, square, non-widescreen, pan and scan.
Pan and scan, no less.
Version
pan
of
and
Lord
scan.
of the Rings.
You are killing me,
Larry.
Larry.
This is the best version to watch.
It's like the mattress commercial. You're killing me, Larry.
Why
is that the best one to watch?
This is my holiday.
At your auntie's house.
Because her TV was made in 1978, and this is the only version that fits her screen. So the full screen Lord of the Rings DVD in glorious 480i quality is what we watched during the holidays. I hope you guys had just as wonderful an experience as I did. And I highly recommend the full screen, pan and scan, non-extended edition, theatrical cut of. Basically, this is the version that's missing the most out of all versions.
It is the last one on earth that anyone would watch.
So Netflix.
Why do you love being such? Why does he love being such a contrarian?
Salute.
The full screen.
I have it in my hand. I'm not being a contrarian. I have it in my hand.
I am not even. All right, no wait.
So
I haven't watched it.
Netflix-
I haven't watched it yet on Netflix because I refuse. Is the Netflix one full screen?
No.
So the Netflix presents it in its normal
1080p,
aspect ratio.
high definition.
Yeah, it's in high def, but is it in its aspect ratio?
Yes,
Proper.
Yes.
Proper.
Yeah.
Okay.
1080p.
All right. It's just that it's theatrical. That's all. It's just bloody theatrical.
This is the theatrical, pan and scan, full screen. It's the best version of the thing. Hey, Cliff. Speaking of other ways to love Lord of the Rings. Now let's take a trip back to get where the future's going. Once upon a time, there are some awesome, well-respected Lord of the Rings video games for the Two Towers and Return of the King for Xbox and PlayStation 2. Do you guys remember that game? The Two Towers and the Return of the King, which had
I do remember
co-op multiplayer. You could play as anyone in the Fellowship. It was one of the best action-adventure games ever made. I'm shocked it doesn't have an HD re-release. I hope they get the right soon because that game is so much fun and it needs a re-release with online multiplayer. So EA made these games based on Peter Jackson's trilogy, and they were fantastic. It was some of the best movie, I dare say it is the best movie tie-in game made of all time. So kudos to EA. But before those came around,
the people at EA certainly did give it their all. Didn't they do an RTS, a real-time strategy game?
Yeah, they did an RTS.
Yes, they did a very popular RTS as well. Yeah.
So Battle for Middle Earth.
Yes, that's right. Battle for Middle Earth.
And then
yes.
they did a second one, Battle for Middle Earth 2. But
so
we're talking about the console games, hack and slash. But before we got to the Two Towers, which was super fun but not multiplayer, there was 2 Fellowship games.
Yeah. Well, one of them related to the film. One of them licensed from the books.
The books, and who has the license to the books? Middle Earth Enterprises, right?
That would be Middle Earth Enterprises, and this is to be understood in terms of the old deal, right?
Yes.
This is the old licensing deal that Tolkien made with Saul Zaentz and Middle Earth Enterprises from when he was still alive.
To be clear, Saul Zaentz changed the name of his company
to
Middle Earth Enterprises.
That's right, Middle Earth Enterprises.
He went all in on Lord of the Rings. All in. He changed the name of his company. So when Fellowship was coming out, no one knew if the Fellowship was going to be a success. You remember the stress of the Fellowship of the Ring. You guys remember how stressful it was? So to hedge their bets, there were 2 video games made for Fellowship of the Ring. One by EA and one by Saul Zaentz and Middle Earth Enterprises.
That's right.
Each of them had voice actors playing the parts as you adventure through the Shire and start on your journey. And spoiler alert, I am standing next to Samwise Gamgee.
Don't even.
Cliff Broadway is the voiceover actor of Samwise Gamgee in the Fellowship of the Ring video game for Xbox and PlayStation.
That was published by Black Label Games, but to be correct, I'm not in the PlayStation version.
You're not?
No, I'm only in the Xbox version. I'm only the voice in the Xbox version.
PlayStation got the EA game, the movie-based game. I remember this. So PlayStation got the movie-based game.
Yeah.
And Xbox got the book-based game.
Biggest voiceover job of my nascent career as a voiceover artist, doing Samwise Gamgee and actually quivering in fear and begging for a wizard to not turn me into anything unnatural. And you know who I worked with that day in the sound booth? The legendary voice actor Tom Kane, Kane, famous for doing everything. He was Gandalf in that Fellowship of the Ring game. Yes. But you also know him as Professor Utonium on the Powerpuff Girls. And
so many things.
So many lead actors.
Series.
He's been in the animated series of all of them. You name it, he's been in it. He's been in all these things.
So there were 2 games that came out for Fellowship of the Ring. One of them was reviewed kind of good, and one of them was reviewed kind of poorly. And unfortunately, it was Cliff's game that did not get the good reviews. But
Right.
I enjoyed the game. I purchased the game full price.
Womp womp.
Cliff's game, based on the books.
Allowed you to go to places in Middle Earth that the movies did not.
But
like the fog on the Barrow Downs, where the undead whites were hiding. Yeah.
But unfortunately, all the characters in his version did not look like the actors in the feature film that everybody was falling in love with. So
True.
everyone wanted to pay $60 to play as Elijah and Sean Astin, and instead on Xbox they got to play as Cliff Broadway. So fast forward. So that's what happened.
You're so funny, dude. You're so
the
funny.
sales were so poor on the book-based game that they gave up on doing book-based video games.
They
and
did.
every Lord of the Rings game since then, Two Towers, Return of the King, Battle for Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, everything has been derivative of, loosely based, or directly based on the movies. Peter Jackson is Middle-earth.
Indeed.
So, Cliff, let's fast forward to 2020, and guess what they announced?
Oh, gosh.
The
Tell
Lord
me.
of the Rings Gollum game won't look like the movies. Saul Zaentz and Middle-earth Enterprises have decided to make another game not based on anything Amazon is doing and not based on anything Warner Brothers and New Line did.
Nothing that New Line or Peter Jackson did, but a whole separate thing.
And they do not have access or rights to what Andy Serkis's Gollum looks like. They do not have rights to likeness, sound, or image. So Saul Zaentz and Middle-earth Enterprises is coming out with a game like they did for Fellowship
My gosh.
about
Oh,
Gollum.
my gosh.
And
Oh, my gosh.
so, Cliff, you actually what? You got paid to play Samwise, so
just
you
a little
you
bit.
don't have any skin in the game.
No.
But you remember how sharp those reviews were because everybody going into your video game expected a movie tie-in.
Yeah.
No amount of marketing can escape that.
They expected the marketing like the artwork on the box. They expected the artwork on the box to be like everything that was in the New Line films. And when it wasn't, you could see right at the point of purchase, right at the retail shelves, people just saying, oh, that's not Lord of the Rings, and putting it back on the shelf.
So
Just because, and the artwork was beautiful, but they had different versions of Frodo, Aragorn, and Gandalf in this like dark kind of really abstract looking painting.
Yes.
And the artwork was just the artwork, although it was nice, was enough to say to people, this is not what I want. It's not what I recognize. Because at that time, it was the height of the 3-film craze. It was the height of popular culture.
that's right.
I mean, it was everything.
So that was
everything,
that
man.
was
You think I'm making
an,
this up?
that was an image that the website Screen Rant put together. That is not an official image using Weta's Gollum. They took the video game logo and put Weta's Gollum. So all of these articles showing Gollum, that's a misnomer, and it's
It
doing
is
it.
totally.
It's doing a disservice, honestly, to the game because the game sounds pretty fun. Now, Cliff, where do you think a game about Gollum starts? Where do you think the first level
Since
of
it's licensed from other material and can include book material,
Yes.
it's going to start in Mirkwood with Gollum trying to escape from the Elven King.
Wrong. This game.
Am I wrong? I
This
would've
game
thought that.
starts at the Tower of Barad-dûr,
Ooh,
Where
where he's
he
being
is-
tortured
where
by the
he's
Dark Lord.
being tortured
Oh,
by the
that's
Dark
horrible.
Lord.
I feel bad for Gollum already.
He gives up the name of Frodo. No, he gives up the name of Baggins. Shire.
Oh God. Y'all really? Seriously?
The game starts with Gollum escaping that torture after Sauron gets what he wants. And that's where the adventure begins for the new Lord of the Rings Gollum game based on the book. Is there enough? My question to you, Cliff, is there enough story between Barad-dûr and Gollum's torture and where he ends up?
Yeah, there's tons of story. Tons and tons and tons of story. Yeah, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you could, yeah. If you want to do the whole Gollum thing that's going to follow his timeline, after he is permitted to leave Barad-dûr, there's something in Tolkien where it says that Sauron was kind of
We're not
happy
guessing.
to have We're not guessing. No.
This is legit, guys. We would not do you wrong, and if I'm guessing, I would tell you.
I mean, I think it'd be...
Just like I'm guessing that the TV show is going to be about young Elrond and young Galadriel. This is fact. Fact. The Lord of the Rings Gollum game is coming this year to next-gen Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PC. It's going to be based completely on the books. It does not have any license to Peter Jackson's movies or Amazon's show, and the story begins at the Tower of Barad-dûr as he's being tortured.
But after he is let loose from Barad-dûr,
it is a puzzle action platformer where you have to solve puzzles and things to escape.
That sounds really kind of cool. Actually,
it sounds great.
It sounds really kind of cool because Gollum is willingly let go by Sauron because Sauron was happy to have him go out there and cause mischief and perhaps help in his own personal way.
Wait, are you telling me Sauron is kind of a happy guy?
Sauron, I don't think... I mean, the elves...
He is the deceiver.
The elves of Thranduil did not want Gollum to escape. Sauron was not quite perturbed at all that Gollum was out and about and escaped after being...
Interesting.
Yeah, no, because he could serve his purposes in the end.
Sauron is such a deceiver. He's very Loki like. Like he knows what buttons to press and when to let things happen because they will cause more chaos than he can control, which makes me very excited for what they do with Sauron in the Second Age. Like if he is really a Loki type trickster but 10 times smarter than Loki, this show can be amazing. So, Cliff, do you think game players now, the audience is smart enough to recognize that a game may be good if it's not connected to Peter Jackson or Amazon's show? Or do you think
they think the hook is Gollum? They think that Gollum is enough of a unique hook that will bypass that natural aversion that I mentioned, that you're talking about now. If they don't identify it. Now, how many years away are we? We are many, 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 many years away. I think about 17 years, 18 years away from Fellowship of the Ring being in theaters, are we not? Mm-hmm. So we have all this distance now. We have all this distance from that time.
I have an opinion, but I'd like yours first.
Yeah.
Is Gollum tied to Andy Serkis and Weta Workshop's work? Is the popular vision of Gollum forever linked to my precious?
Yes, it is forever linked, and here's why. Cut to that. Even now, all these years later, these people can't help themselves. Even when, there's a Weta's Gollum. There is Andy Serkis's Gollum right there in the middle of the bloody news page. And you know what? He has nothing to do with this game. All the news references. Yeah, you answered your own question right there, buddy.
Look at that. Everyone's using Andy.
This is true.
So this is doing a disservice to the game. But the question is can we escape that? You cannot escape the shadow of Sean Astin when you performed Samwise Gamgee.
No, and I didn't. I tried to do everything that I could to not sound like Sean.
Right, and you.
But I still had to sound like Sam.
You still had to say the same words. Tolkien wrote the words. Everyone just repeats it. Is this doomed to fail, or is this set up for success?
How can I predict? Let me shake my magic 8-ball. Is it doomed to fail? I think that the advantage they have is distance. They're no longer going to be so strongly associated because huge seismic waves of pop culture are not being made right now because we're not in the middle of a 3-release pattern of 3 mega blockbuster films that are rocking the universe. So this video game doesn't stand under that shadow right now. However, it can't fully get out from under the shadow of Andy and Weta's Gollum because look, there's all Weta Gollum all over the advertising and the pre-release information about this.
So we're set up
for them to succeed. The allure of this mysterious character to play with Gollum and to do puzzles and things to get out of his predicament, but especially to feature an untold chapter of Gollum's life and his story that no filmmaker has ever bothered to adapt. Neither Ralph Bakshi in the 70s and not Peter Jackson in the early aughts. Neither of those filmmakers have bothered to tell this important piece of Gollum's life. So the game designers actually had a smart move focusing on this part of the narrative.
So Cliff,
Really smart.
someone in the chat room, Orion's Angel says, the new Gollum design could become a meme like what happened to Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh boy. Talk about not having the right license.
Yes, yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog was that's my fear. Everyone thinks of Gollum as Andy Serkis and the Weta Workshop creation. That's what Gollum looks like, period. And in fact, when I go back and watch The Fellowship of the Ring, it's a disconnect for me because the Gollum in Fellowship, it just looks just a little too much different. It was too early.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, indeed, a little early. But
all right, so
here's what's interesting. The heavyweight impression of Andy Serkis's Gollum is so strong that when people go back and watch the 1978 Ralph Bakshi Gollum, they usually react with such aversion.
No, I'll tell you what.
Aversion and raised eyebrows and WTF. Like, what the F is that? What were they thinking is
I
what
throw
people...
up in my mouth when I see Ralph Bakshi's Gollum. It's gross. It's scary.
Yeah, the world has now pivoted onto Andy Serkis's creation, and everybody responds to Gollum. And even when I read the bloody books these days, that's the one I envision.
All right, so let's play this
That
out.
is the Gollum I envision.
Let's help the guys at Datalic Entertainment.
They have a task in front of them to design their own unique Gollum.
Well, they're all already like halfway through development. So
Good.
I mean,
Good stuff.
So we're probably going to see something at E3. So Cliff, you were in.
Can we get press passes to
you
E3?
were
I'd love that.
The book
Would love that.
version of the Fellowship game. We have. You also produced a movie, and you went and marketed it and sold it called Ringers Lord of the Fans.
Yes.
We've been in marketing. We've helped many folks market their Lord of the Rings things. So right here, right now, let's think of 3 things that Datalic Entertainment can do for marketing to prepare people for a new Gollum. Well, how would you guys in the chat room like to see Datalic market and advertise this game so when people purchase it or go free to play, they know that they're not getting Andy Serkis, but we're getting something much more magical and in-depth.
I think they need to spoof something that is in popular culture right now, either cats or Baby Yoda. And they need to spoof something that's really, really strong visually, and they need to interlope and insert their new Gollum design into these very familiar things and make it be a really, really big poke in the eye at the producers of Cats or a poke in the eye at Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian, whatever. But that might be something to introduce their character design, is by really this absurdist, very non-Tolkien-like approach. It's absurdist humor, but it's to parodize familiar fantasy and sci-fi things that are out there, or pop culture things. Why not?
Cliff, once upon a time at San Diego
I think parody, as you know, as the Hillywood show will tell you, parody is something that's very, very effective in getting people's attention.
So there's one idea.
Yes.
There's one idea.
We'll get to that.
Datalic Entertainment, look up Hillywood Show, spelled exactly how you think it is. Hillywood Show on YouTube.
Take the word Hollywood, replace the O with an I.
1 billion views on YouTube, almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube. They are one of the premier YouTube content creators. 1 billion views.
Their Lord of the Rings parody is the stuff of heaven.
So
it's really funny stuff.
It's
also a parody of Frozen at the same time.
It's amazing.
It's really funny.
So Datalic, hit up Hillywood and let's make a parody about Gollum.
Dude, yeah.
For your show.
Hey,
right,
Datalic, hit up Hillywood. Yeah, good stuff.
I have another idea.
Good
Cliff.
stuff. They also did a parody of the Umbrella Academy, starring yours truly.
He was in that.
We'll get to that later.
The other idea I had, Cliff, about 12 years ago, we did a thing at San Diego Comic-Con, with our friends at Weta Workshop. Richard Taylor judged a Voice of Gollum contest.
Ah, yes, a Voice of Gollum contest.
Where we invited hundreds of fans at San Diego Comic-Con.
That is an excellent idea.
To give us their best Gollum impression. And people applauded. Richard Taylor voted.
But they were all impersonating
They
Andy.
were all so let's open it up. Maybe at E3 and at Comic-Con this year, let's do another let's show off what the new Gollum looks like, and then let's have people try to guess what he sounds like in a contest where people can come up to the booth, to the stage, however we want to do it, and give us their best Gollum impression. I think that'd be super fun because everyone knows Gollum's dialogue. It's in the books. We've been reading these books for 100 years.
And people visualize or audiotize. Is that a word?
Yes.
Audiotize. Actually, very, very different. Many people have different approaches to how a Smeagol Gollum voice would sound like, where it would come from. And it might not necessarily be that interesting nasally trick that Andy does.
That's right.
It might be something quite different, something a bit creepier, more insidious, like a little crazy stalker.
Think of the motion capture opportunity like they've done to motion capture a Gollum for video game playing. We get to play Gollum. We didn't even get to play Gollum in the Two Towers video game.
That's true. That's true.
Or Lord,
but
this is the first time we've ever been able to play Gollum, I believe. LOTR people, correct me. If you play Lord of the Rings Online, let me know if you can play as Gollum.
That's one way. So another way. So one way is to do a voice contest. One way is to do parodies, to insert their new Gollum design into
popular culture.
Wildly familiar popular culture.
Yes.
That's another smart way to introduce the character so that it's not so jarring, because it will be a very different design. We'll see how much it is.
Lieutenant Gothmog in the chat room says that Andy Serkis got Gollum's voice wrong.
Well, a lot of people think that. That's okay. That's totally okay. A lot of people think that Gollum's voice would not have been quite like that, but you know, I do hear the self-torture and the self-loathing that needs to be there. Through the vocal trickery that Andy Serkis was doing, I really was able to get in touch with the pitiable, which is what Frodo related to. That pitiable quality.
Do you know that we actually do have audio recordings of J.R.R. Tolkien himself reciting the Gollum character?
Oh, yes, we do. We do. That's out there. That stuff is out there. It's on the interwebs.
We posted some links on our Facebook page. If you go to our Facebook page and look for the group, ask to join the group if you haven't participated. There are links to some wonderful recordings of Tolkien himself doing Gollum as well as singing some Elvis songs, stuff like that. So we have Tolkien's mind's eye of what Gollum should sound like, and has nothing to do with Serkis's performance. So there's a lot of opportunity here.
I forget the name of the character actor, but in the Ralph Bakshi film, he sounds like an opium addict. He doesn't sound like he does. He sounds like an addict, an opium addict. He sounds like he's so strung out that he's just constantly whimpering and whispering to himself the way that a drug addict would. And back in the late 70s, pop culture had its own specific view of drug abuse. But
hey, Arn in the chat room says, how about Ted Naismith's Gollum design from the Mount Doom illustration? Oh my gosh, if Daedalic Entertainment licensed the likeness of Gollum as designed by Ted Naismith, who designed the background to the OneRing.net's website, oh my God.
Yeah.
Would that calm your nerves? Would that set the game up for success of like leaning on maybe it's Naismith, maybe doing a whole video series of like Bakshi and the brothers Hildebrand. Maybe dive into everybody that wasn't involved in Peter Jackson's movies and say, this is all of the interpretations
of Gollum over the years, over the decades.
Of Middle-earth.
Here's the new boy in town.
Here's the new boy in town. He's motion captured by this one. He's voiced over by Troy Baker or someone. You know, I don't know. But so
Tom Kane.
There's your three ideas. Okay, let's repeat them. We got reach out to the Hillywood Show, do a Gollum parody. put Gollum in pop culture. Just put him everywhere.
Yes, it does make sense, Orion's Angel. Absolutely, it makes total sense.
Go to Comic-Con and E3 and do a Voice of Gollum contest. And then the final idea is do a video series documenting the history of artwork.
Related to this character.
Related to this character.
I like that idea.
Outside of the film.
And also go into some of the fan art, because there is a repository of some of the best artwork in the world on these...
on Tumblr.
Well, yeah.
Wait, no, don't start at Tumblr.
Pinterest is where you want to start.
Yeah, you know what? Save Tumblr for last.
Pinterest.
Maybe DeviantArt. No.
You used
Wait,
to. We used to refer people to DeviantArt. But anyways, there's a thing that happened, okay? There's also Dark Crystal news before we get to the end of our programming of the day.
I don't know if it's news.
It's not news. Actually, this time for me to issue a very important correction. All right? There's news because suddenly I'm the story, and my overenthusiastic, crazy jumping the gun and making wild assumptions has now become the story. It is a story of what happens when fandom becomes overenthusiastic. Real brief. We get a tip from my co-host, Chelsea, who sometimes appears, as...
been on the show. She's a show regular.
She's been a
friend of the show.
And here's what happens. We're looking at IMDb Pro, and some lark out there on the internet somewhere, some bozo, decides to put up 2022 as a release date for the sequel to the 1982 movie, The Power of the Dark Crystal, which was put into Project Turnaround in the 1990s. The director, the animation director, Genndy Tartakovsky, who is so famous to Star Wars fans for doing the first animated Clone Wars as a mini cartoon series, and he did Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack, which is the best thing in the universe. But Genndy Tartakovsky could not bring the power of the Dark Crystal together. The rights were sold to the comic book companies, to Boom, to Archaea. It ended up being written by Neil Gaiman's right-hand man, Simon Spurrier, who has written this beautiful, beautiful thing, adapted from the original David Odell script. The Power of the Dark Crystal is something I announced as a new movie that they're going to make because I misread what I saw online. So I got suckered into it, just like lots of people did in 2016. I got suckered into reading something online that wasn't true. My bad. So I apologize to the Dark Crystal community. This might be something I hoped was related to Netflix's series. I thought that an overworked, maybe an underpaid, overworked production person at Netflix was supposed to put in a 2022 production date for the Age of Resistance TV series. Maybe they accidentally put it in the wrong box for the old movie that never happened. And I thought something crazy, but that's because I'm over-enthusiastic.
Well,
so
if that's the bad news...
To the community, and to our friends at the Dark Crystal Conjunction and Dark Crystal Podcast, thank you for responding to me so kindly on the interwebs and on the Twitterverse to help me correct my course. I just really thought it was something to howl from the mountaintops because I'm an enthusiastic fan. I mean, this is what we do here at theonering.net. We get enthused about our fandom.
If you, since you're so excited about
mea culpa.
Since you're so excited about fantasy shows, I have good news.
I mean, really.
Yeah, I have good news breaking today.
The position we're in with the new fantasy that's coming towards us as a consumer, as consumers of fandom,
Cliff,
it's
I want
really coming
I
at
want
us.
you to look right in that camera.
Tell me.
And
Tell me some news, Justin.
I want to see your reaction when I say today is the first day of production on Willow, the TV series.
The new TV series Willow
starring Warwick Davis.
No way! Starring Warwick Davis. He plays Grip Hook, the goblin in Harry Potter, and he plays Willow, and he was an Ewok in the original Star Wars.
He was Willow.
Oh my God! Of course! Oh my God! That's so cool. Where did you hear this?
It's official. It's all over the. All over the Twitters.
Is Ron Howard involved?
Yes, everyone's involved.
Can I get an amen up in here? Hallelujah.
So Willow is in production. Guess what's not in production?
Do you know what? I hear the song of Thra right now, and I'm hearing it. It's awesome. This is great news.
You know what's not in production?
What?
Lord of the Rings. According to the original contract that Amazon signed, they were supposed to be filming Like sets built, cameras rolling.
They're in the middle of a holiday break.
By the end of 2019, it is now 2020. They are in breach of contract.
No,
and
they're actively in production. They're just coming back from the holiday break. They're still on schedule. They still
are they on schedule?
I mean,
they just replaced their main actor.
Well, maybe
they're not on schedule.
Maybe I should correct myself. Maybe they're not on schedule, but they are within the bounds of what they announced. They said they're going to start coming back to filming January X. Are we there yet?
They were according to the contract, they were supposed to be lensing by
check the gates.
By the end of 2019.
Cut.
Tom Hanks.
Check the gate.
The gate. The gate is not good.
We love you, Tom Hanks.
We do not have any footage.
Yes. If the gate is not good, check the gate. I love you, Tom Hanks. You're the best. Okay, seriously. We're making Golden Globes reference. We didn't do any news yet on the Golden Globes. By the way, Dark Crystal fans, big shout out to your back-to-back wins. Awkwafina, followed by the guy who played Elton John. That would be Taron Egerton. Awkwafina wins a Golden Globe. As soon as she goes off stage, who walks up next? Another character from the Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. Both of these actors, who one plays a Skeksis, little Awkwafina, a terrifying, creepy Skeksis,
make me want to watch
comes out of the voice of little Awkwafina, and then here comes Taron Egerton as Rianne from the Stonewood clan. So congratulations to our actors from the TV series for their work in their independent movies, Rocket Man and The Farewell, which was a lovely, lovely movie. Okay. Now, back to this. Okay. Sorry, digression.
That's all I have to say. So, Cliff, I hope you got to watch Lord of the Rings in a better version than the full screen, pan and scan, 480i.
It's the worst.
Standard depth.
Guys, do not listen to Justin this time. You can listen to him sometimes, but on this, no. The next time you watch The Two Towers, it will not be the 4:3 pan and scan awfulness of the standard edition. Oh, yes. And also congratulations to Brian Cox. He was awesome, too.
I love that show, Succession.
Yeah, Brian Cox is a longtime friend of Gandalf. They worked together in the X-Men films.
That's right.
Ian McKellen, our very own Ian McKellen.
Hey, Cliff, someone on, speaking of the Golden Globes, people were saying, we were talking about the Lord of the Rings winning the Golden Globe, and that was the start of our road to Oscar for Return of the King.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings has won an Oscar. It won the Oscars and set the record for Oscars. It also Howard Shore won the Grammy for the Lord of the Rings soundtrack.
He won the Grammy. He won.
That means we are halfway to an EGOT. How do we get a Lord of the Rings Broadway production going?
Oh, so we've got the Oscar, the Grammy, and the Emmy. Wait,
we need to get
where's the Emmy?
The Emmy, Amazon, don't mess this up.
Okay.
Earn that Emmy.
Amazon Studios, you need to get the Emmy. And for someone to get the Tony Award, well, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to...
A one-man Ian McKellen show?
I'm going to produce... You're hearing it here first. I am going to produce a revival of the Rankin and Bass The Hobbit, but it'll be an on-stage musical production, live with actors and amazing creatures, and we're going to recreate The Hobbit with the full cast, score, and music from the beloved songs of the Rankin and Bass musical of The Hobbit, which managed to tell The Hobbit in 96 minutes. Looking at you, Peter Jackson. And then when that is on Broadway and it wins the Tony Award, then we'll have our Tony.
All right,
okay?
So Amazon...
that'll be up to me. After all, my last name isn't Broadway for nothing.
Amazon, earn the Emmy. We've got a Grammy. We've got an Oscar. Cliff, you work on your
I'll work on the Tony
Award-winning stage play. And
award-winning revival of The Hobbit, yes.
We'll see you guys next week.
And you, Amazon.
Here.
Amazon. I have one last thing to say to Amazon Studios.
Go ahead.
Please come join us and talk with us. And Jennifer Salke and you wonderful folks, Mr. Patrick and JD, right?
Payne?
Yeah, JD Payne and
Patrick McKay.
Patrick McKay and
you guys better learn these names.
Would you guys? I have to. I know. I mean, my brain's
JD Payne.
I'm in a crazy brainwave right now.
By the way,
come join us, and I would love to sit down and talk with you folks about your approach to the most important thing of all. Say it again with me. #Fidelity to Tolkien. Thank you very much.
Till next week, we are live from Scum of Villainy Canteen in Hollywood. If you ever make your way to LA, come to Scum of Villainy. It's all ages. Bring your kids. bring your wife.
You're
bring
welcome.
Your hobbits.
You're welcome to
bring
come
your
and join
wizards.
us all the time.
Cosplay is encouraged.
It is, and it's rewarded, actually. I might end up buying you a drink
That's
of,
right.
of pale ale.
He might be working security.
I might actually be carding your ass.
Samwise Gamgee.
You can't come in.
Gardener.
You've had too much.
A little late for
You've
trimming
had
the verge.
too much of that long bottom leaf. You're not coming in here.
Yes.
You know, this is a wonderful. Thank you, Justin, for joining us, and
Yes.
to all the people
Data
chatting
Link
with us.
Entertainment, hit us up. We've got some ideas on
Yes.
how to engage with your new video game.
Moir the Fourth. Is there a hotel? Yeah, there's lots of hotels all up and down. There's all kinds of options here
Willow
nearby.
is the film Lord of the Rings should have been. No.
Kieran, hey, it's my friend from Wales.
I don't
hey,
agree. I
how you
don't
doing?
agree on that.
Kieran Owen
All right,
in
we'll
Wales.
be
How
here
you doing,
next
buddy?
week with the latest casting. I'll bet you we're going to get lots more casting as they start preparing to film in the coming weeks. I bet you we're going to hear more and more about who's joining the cast. If you're in Auckland, New Zealand,
That's right, Ellen.
Get-
I would have to take the show
get
to
your
Broadway
camera.
specifically. That is correct,
get your
Ellen.
cameras out in Auckland.
I love you, by the way.
Let's get some spy photos. Let's see who's driving to the set, who's getting out of their town cars. Let's get the spy master
and
going.
You know what? What was also noticeable that season 8 of Game of Thrones, with the exception of
No. We don't end the show on a bad note.
With the exception,
No,
never mind.
I'm stopping you.
But they didn't get any Golden
Stop.
Globe nominations at all, did they?
Stop.
Hey, you know what?
Lord of the Rings, be better.
Lord of the Rings, be better
Till
and get those
next
Golden Globes.
time.
Until next week, buenas noches y buena suerte.